act and rule utilitarianism. Act utilitarianism argues that an act is right if and only if it results in as much good as any available alternatives. So an act is right if and only if it results as much good as any available alternatives. As long as there are options, as long as there are available alternatives, then the right or something right will happen, something right will exist. Rule utilitarianism. It's an act is right if and only if it is required by rule. Therefore, it's based on rules. That means the rule utilitarianism and the act utilitarianism, what makes them different is an act is right in the utilitarianism as long as there are alternatives. If it results in as much good as any available alternatives. There might be options. That means it might bring different types of available alternative right actions. However, in the rule of utilitarianism, an action is right if and only if it is required by rule. That's itself a member of a set of rules whose acceptance would lead greater utility for society than any available alternatives. It's not the option. It's not the alternatives, but rather the rules which are set there. Human beings are rule-following creatures. According to the rule utilitarianism, human beings are rule-following creatures. We learn by adhering to the rules of a given subject. That means we learn for everything. That means we learn for starting from speaking, from the childhood, starting from the language that we speak, the way of driving a car, dancing, writing, rock climbing, cooking, and so many points. Therefore, human beings are rule-following creatures, and they learn from by adhering to the rules of a given subject. It can be language, it can be dancing, it can be speaking or driving or any other things you can mention. Altruism. What's altruism? What does altruism means? In altruism, an action is right. What is a certain action in altruism? An action is right if the consequences of that action are favorable to all except the actor. Selfless, that means extremely the person is selfless here. He takes care of, he gives the interest of priority to the interest of other people. So the person who is altruist is considered as a selfless because he gives priority for the best of other people, other individuals. Butler argued that we have an inherent psychological capacity to show benevolence to others, good activities to others, helping to others, giving priority to others, sacrificing our own interest to other people. That means here. That's what the best point of altruism. And we have a very few people in the world who can be considered as altruists. This view is called psychological altruism and maintains that at least some of our actions are motivated by instinctive benevolence. Deontological ethics or non-consequentialist deontology. We call it deontology. Deontology is the opposite of theological ethics because theological ethics advocates that the end justifies the means, whereas deontology or deontological ethics is the opposite. The means justifies the end. That's the central point of deontological ethics. We don't have to wait to see the results. It's from the beginning. It refers as the means justifies the end. It's coined as denotics. So in deontological ethics, the rightness of an action depends not on the consequences, not on the results, not on what will happen, which it leads, but on its own inherent nature. The action by its nature, the action by since starting from the beginning is right or wrong. So the means justifies the end is the principle, the major principle of deontological ethics. Instead, actions should be weighed by themselves, not by their results. Actions are in deontological ethics, actions are calculated by themselves. From the beginning, that means if the action is bad from the beginning, it's bad. There is no expecting for the result. There is no need of weighing the result or the consequence, but rather by looking at the action by itself. This is a theory that the rightness or wrongness of moral action is determined at least partly with reference to the formal rules of conduct rather than the consequences. It is fixed, that means. The consequentialist action or the theological action, the theological ethics it's flexible, that means. It might be good or it might be bad. What determines is the result. But in the deontological ethics, they are fixed, actions are fixed, and they are determined by the formal rules of conduct rather than by their results or by their consequences. So it's a deity based on, according to this theory, it's deity based. So deontological ethics is deity based. The consequence or results of our action have nothing to do with the rightness and wrongness. In deontological ethics, there is no place for the consequences, for the results of any action. This is all for this video. I hope you got it helpful, and thanks for watching. See you in the next video.